Suppose, let's say I take container of filled with water, right? If I keep it in a stove, which means I'm giving some heat. Okay, this heat is going into the substance over here. So this is going to raise in temperature. Let's say the temperature rises by 1 degree Celsius. Okay. How much energy I should give to raise 1 degree Celsius, right? Raise this temperature by 1 degree Celsius. Is what is called heat capacity. So it is defined as delta Q divided by delta T. So what it means is, suppose if I give say 5 joules of heat given to increase the temperature by say is the temperature by say 5 degrees Celsius or say 10 degrees Celsius. Right? What it means is I'm giving 5 joules and the temperature from, let's say, from 25 degree it went to 35 degree. So suppose if I'm increasing the temperature like this, the change in temperature is only 10 degree. That means 5 by 10 is going to be 1 by 2, okay, which is 0.5 joule per degree Celsius. So how much energy I have to give to raise it by 1 degree Celsius? That is what is called heat capacity. Remember, this can be say 5 kg or 10 kg, it can be in kgs, right? But basically by using this formula, I'm telling to raise it by 1 degree Celsius, I have to give 0.5 joules. Which means if I need to increase it by 2 degrees Celsius, I have to give 1 joule. Okay, so basically I'm just dividing the temperature, joules by temperature. That is what is called heat capacity. Any doubts? Very simple, nothing very difficult here. But as I told you, you can have 1 kg or 10 kg, doesn't matter, right? Which means for a given mass, what is the heat capacity means, this is what we do. But as I told you somewhere else, there is something called apples per kg. Okay, so we don't talk about for 2 kg it is 100 rupees, for 3 kg it is 150 rupees, for 5 kg it is 250 rupees. We don't talk about. Instead, what do we say? We say apples per kg. Okay, so we talk in terms of rate. That means we always say rupees 50 per kg. Okay. So that means there is something called specific heat capacity. So I told you somewhere specific means whenever we say specific, we have to divide by mass. So specific heat capacity is nothing but take the heat capacity and divide by mass, unit mass. Okay. So what this means is the unit here is joule per degree Celsius. This one will be heat capacity is delta Q divided by delta T and then divide by mass, which means you have to divide by the mass also. Mass we don't write as delta M because whatever it is 5 kg or 10 kg you have to divide by. Suppose in this container, suppose if I had say 2 kg, okay, that means 2 kg of the substance will be delta Q is 5 joules, mass is 2 kg, delta T you raised it by 10 degrees Celsius, okay, which means this will be 0.5 divided by 2 will be 0.25.
0.025. 0.25, yeah.
Yeah. So that means this will be joule per kg per Celsius. So that means here we said per Celsius, here it is per kg per Celsius, meaning for 1 kg, for raising it by 1 degree Celsius, I need to give this much joules. Okay. Any questions, any doubts?
No, sir.
So you know what is heat capacity, you know what is specific heat capacity. Okay, both are same. Only thing, if you divide by mass, it becomes specific heat capacity. This we represent it as C, specific capacity C. Specific capacity, heat capacity, sometimes I think in your book they use S. A common formula, suppose if I am taking easy method to understand this is, let's say I have 1 kg of substance, I have 2 kg of substance here. To raise this by 1 degree Celsius and to raise this by 1 degree Celsius, right? I need to give more energy over here. So that means Q is proportional to mass. I'm following that. To raise 2 kg of substance to 1 degree Celsius, raising it by, from 25 degree, if I want to take it to 26 degree, I need to give more energy here compared to here, which means Q is proportional to mass. Let's say I have the same container.
Sir, for heat capacity, they have given the symbol as capital S, and for specific heat capacity, they have given the symbol as small s. They haven't given C. C is for heat capacity divided by number of moles.
Okay, we'll come to that. Okay, so this is specific capacity. What you are talking about is molar heat capacity. Okay, we'll come to that. Okay, but symbols, yeah, what you are saying is true. Okay, maybe in your textbook, I think they're using a different letters, but generally most of the textbooks will be using capital C for specific capacity and small heat capacity will be using S. Okay, we'll see. Let's say in this case, I have to raise it to from 25 degrees Celsius. I need to increase it to 30 degrees Celsius. The same amount of mass. Suppose if I'm raising it from 25 degrees Celsius to say 100 degrees Celsius, obviously you need to give more heat. Do you agree? Here you have to give less heat. Here you have to give more heat, which means Q is proportional to delta T also. 30 minus 25 is 5 degrees Celsius here. 100 minus 25 is 75 degrees, which means it's proportional to delta T. So combining these two things, I can write it as Q is proportional to mass and delta T. Whenever we have proportionality, what do? We bring in a proportionality constant, and that is your C. This is what is called specific heat capacity. Okay. So as the mass increases, you have to give more energy. As the temperature needs to be increased more, you have to give more energy. What about water and oil? If you take water in one container, if you take oil in another container, same 1 kg here, same 1 kg here. Let's say some other liquid, let's say mercury or say milk or some other liquid. So to raise all this 1 kg to by 1 degree Celsius, will I give the same amount of heat or different amount of heat? What do you think?
It varies.
It varies, right? So even in your kitchen, you must have seen that different liquids will boil at different time. So that means energy which is required to raise it to particular temperature, right? It depends upon the substance, and that is what this C represents. So that proportionality is something to do with the substance constant. So it's a material constant of depends upon the substance. Okay. Heat capacity is more for milk than water. Okay, yeah. That's what you're saying. So, yeah. So this is the basis for this formula. Q is equal to mc delta T. Okay. What is C? C is equal to Q divided by mass into delta T. This is what we studied at the beginning, very beginning. So I'm just explaining the same concept in two different ways. Okay, you can understand it from this concept, or you can understand it from this formula. Okay, again, just by taking some simple examples, we'll be able to understand the numbers very easily. Any questions that are following it? Okay, so similar to mass, we can talk in terms of moles. Okay, so small c, this is capital C. Let's can for small c. So small c will be delta Q. So this is mass. This is number of moles. So instead of talking in terms of mass, you can also talk in terms of moles. Okay. So this is called specific heat capacity. Here I would call it as molar specific heat capacity. So Chaitanya, are you following? This is what you saw it in the book. So if I divide by, instead of dividing it by mass, if I divide by number of moles, it is called molar specific heat capacity. Okay. The letters, they may have different letters in the books. Okay, don't worry about too much about the notations. Generally, I like to keep it as capital C, specific heat capacity. Okay, so next topic is, let's talk about something called calorimetry. Calorimetry, or another thing is law of mixtures. What do you mean by calories? Anybody? Everyone sleeping? Calorie is a unit for energy, right? So in your foods, they'll say kilocalories. So if you eat this, you will get 1,000 calories, 2,000 calories, something like that. So it means it's a unit of energy. So You may be wondering, sir, joule is the energy unit. Well, joule is the SI unit. Calorie is a British unit. Okay. So in olden days, they used to have water as a standard. So to raise water by 1 degree Celsius, how much energy is given? That happens to be 1 calorie. So 1 calorie is equal to energy given to raise 1 kg of water by 1 degree Celsius, which happens to be equivalent to 4.2 joules. Okay. So I'll be giving 4.2 joules to raise the water, 1 kg of water to 1 degree Celsius by 1 degree Celsius. And that unit is what is called 1 calorie. So 8.4 joules would be 2 calories. Metry means measurement. So if I'm going to measure the energy, we call it as calorimetry. Geometry, right? Geo means earth. So if you are measuring the earth, we call it as geometry. Even voltmeter, ammeter, all these things are meter refers to the measurement. Okay. So there is a simple setup which is like an insulated vessel. And this insulated vessel, so since it is insulated, you have to show some hashed lines like this. So usually you will have some hot liquid over here. Hot or cold, can be anything, right? There will be some temperature. Then there will be a lid over here. So from using the lid, using this lid over here, right? You can open and close this lid, and then you can drop something. So for example, suppose if I'm dropping some copper coins, this will be in some temperature, right? And then you will be dropping it inside, and then you will be closing this, and then there'll be a stirrer over here. So just the stirrer is, make sure that the temperature is uniform. So as soon as it falls inside this, right? As soon as it falls inside this, you'll be doing some stirring action so that the temperature will be uniform. So the simple law of mixtures is, you can call this as principle of calorimetry. Of course, you have to show this as closed. So law of mixtures or law of principle of calorimetry is, as you know, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, right? Trigonometry, okay, very good. So Chaitanya, you are saying trigonometry is also, tri refers to 3. So if you are measuring the angles and something related to triangles, it's called trigonometry, right? Okay, very good. So you have a lot of metries like that. Okay. So few laws. By the way, trigonometry, in my opinion, I think it's Tamil word actually. Okay. Tamil, you must have heard about Tirigonam, right? So from this only trigonometry has come. Sometimes we write it as trigonometry. Actually, the correct spelling is trigonometry. You can check it. So trip blown up. So okay, 3 refers to 3 try. Okay. And 3 refers to measurement. So it is actually coming from a Tamil word. Okay. So law of mixtures is energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So law of conservation of energy. So what law of mixtures says is Q lost should be equal to Q gained. What does that mean? Let's say this water is at certain temperature, say 25 degrees Celsius. Let's say copper coin, I heated it up to say 100 degrees Celsius. Okay. So it means this is very hot. This is very cold. So suppose if I drop this coin inside this and then stir it, right? What will happen? Some energy from the copper will be going to the water, which means the temperature here will be reduced. The temperature of the water will be increased. How come? Because there is no loss of heat to the outer atmosphere, which means all the energy will be kept inside this liquid. That's why you have this stirrer so that the temperature is uniform everywhere. And this is based on law of conservation of energy. So what this means is initially, let's say the initial temperature of copper is some temperature, let's call it as T initial of copper. Let's call it as T initial of water. Okay. After dropping, right, you know that the temperature will get equalized, which means it should come to a final temperature. In final temperature, the coin will also be in the same temperature, the water will also be in the same temperature, because that is what we call it as equilibrium. Take it down, final temperature is same, and that's why it's called in equilibrium. So how long does the heat transfer happen? Until the temperature of this and temperature of this are equal. So when the temperature of the copper coin and the water are equal, there is no more heat transfer. Remember, Q is nothing but heat. What is Q? Just now I told you Q is equal to MC delta T, right? From the formula, I can write it as MC delta T is equal to Q gained is MC delta T. In this particular example, right, as you can see, copper is losing energy, water is gaining energy, which means I need to write this properly. So this is mass of copper. This is C of copper. This is delta T of copper. This is for water. So write the suffix properly. C is specificity of copper. This is a standard number which is taken from the tables, okay, based on the experiments. They already found out the values for copper, steel, aluminum, whatever materials you want, right? You can find the standard values. Delta T is T final minus T initial. And then in this case, T final will be smaller, T initial will be higher. So to avoid the negative symbol, right, what I can do is T initial copper minus T final. Why? Because this is high, this is low. Why? Because it lost energy. This side, water gained energy, which means from 25 degrees Celsius, it would have gone up to say 30 degrees Celsius or 35 degrees Celsius, which means the T final is higher. Okay, we will get a lot of numericals based on this, so take it down properly. They will give you most of these details and they will ask you what is the final temperature. If you know this simple concept, Q lost is equal to Q gained, you'll be able to solve this. You see, then and there, very often we are using law of conservation of energy. From law of conservation of energy, law of mixtures or law of calorimetry has come. From law of conservation of energy, Bernoulli's theorem has come. So that means every then and there we keep on using law of conservation of energy. So it's called the holy grail of physics. Okay. So if somebody disproves law of conservation of energy, whatever we have done so far in physics, everything will go wrong. Okay. So far nobody has disproved law of conservation of energy. Have we copied this? Anybody still copying?
Yes, sir. 1 minute. Yeah, that's it, sir.
Okay. Okay, then there is one more interesting concept called heating curve. Let's talk about that. Very, very interesting, very important. So pay attention. Suppose if I take X and Y axis like this, I'm going to take it as time axis. This, I'm going to take it as temperature axis. Suppose if I take some ice from your freezer, let's say it is at -5 degrees Celsius. So this is 0 degrees Celsius. So -5 degrees Celsius is somewhere here. So as I start heating the ice, what happens? The temperature keeps rising. So once it reaches 0 degrees Celsius, right? You will see that the thermometer will be showing 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, we are talking about some simple arrangement. You can try this in your home. Take some ice cubes. We have this experiment in the lab. Luckily, 12 students have started coming. 11 students, nobody is coming to the center. So I can't do anything about it. So as I start heating this, right, what happens? The ice starts melting. So when it is melting, the temperature in the thermometer will slowly start rising, which means it will come to 0 degrees Celsius. When you see 0 degrees Celsius, right, what will happen is some of them will be smoke. Little bit of water will be there and little bit of ice will be there. As you keep on supplying the heat from the stove, right, a very, very interesting thing happens here. What happens is after 0 degrees Celsius, you keep on giving the heat, but then the temperature does not rise. It remains at 0 degrees Celsius for a while. Once it starts rising again, right, you will see that all the ice has melted to water. So here it is a mixture of ice plus water. Here it is only ice. Okay. Only after it comes to 0 degrees Celsius, you will be able to see some water. Once you see 1 degree Celsius, right, you will see that everything is water. You will not see any ice. Okay, this is a very interesting experiment. You can try this if you have a thermometer. But the clinical thermometer, some of you might be having in your home, it will have only up to 40 degrees Celsius because human body can go only up to that, right? So it's called clinical thermometer. What you may require is a laboratory thermometer. Okay. something like minus 10 degrees Celsius to 120 degrees Celsius. So as I keep on giving heat, right? By time I mean you are giving heat from the stove. So as I keep on giving heat, what happens is from 1 degree Celsius it goes to 10 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Celsius, keeps on rising. The water keeps on boiling. Sorry, keep rising in temperature. Once it reaches 100 degrees Celsius, you will see that the water starts boiling. So this is called your melting point. This is what is your boiling point. So 0 degrees Celsius is your melting point for ice. 100 degrees Celsius is for boiling point for water. So once it enters into boiling point, very interestingly, what you will see is you will be seeing some smoke coming out of this. It's like a steam. So you'll see some steam coming out of this. But then the thermometer will be still showing 100 degrees Celsius. So once all the water has been converted to steam, right? Only then you will see that the temperature will rise further up. But however, in your home, this experiment is difficult because you need a closed container. Only if you have a completely closed airtight container, you will be able to capture the steam. Otherwise, what will happen is the steam will escape. So this part you cannot do it in your home or in the lab. Okay. Only, sorry, in the lab you can do it, if you have a proper closed container. So very interestingly, what will happen is the steam will be rising up to say 120 degree, 130. So very interestingly, steam can be increased to very high temperatures, something in the order of say 2000 degrees Celsius, 1000 degree, 2000 degree, 3000 degrees Celsius, something like this. Okay. Using this only, they are using steam turbines. So steam turbines are used for electricity generation. So what they do is, for example, if you go to Neyveli, you have coal mines. So the coal is connected from the ground, the mines. They use the coal to heat up the water. Water is converted to steam. The steam is further heated up. It keep on giving heat until it reaches very high temperatures, something in the order of say thousands of degrees Celsius. Once it is very high temperature, it will be made to go into the turbine. So the turbine will be made to spin. And as the turbine is spinning, it will be connected to a generator. The electric generator will be producing the electricity. Okay. So make some small notes. So take it down again. Here it is fully water. Here it is water plus steam. Here it is fully steam. So this curve is called heating curve. We have something called cooling curve. So the cooling curve will be the other way around. You take steam and then you keep on decreasing the temperature. It will come to 100 degrees Celsius. Once it comes to 100 degrees Celsius, condensation will happen. So in condensation, steam is getting converted to water. and here you will be having this. So the cooling curve will be looking something. This is not given in your textbook, but understanding this, I think you have some exercise problems based on this. So you take some very high temperature, so it comes like this, 100 degrees here. Then it comes like this. Then it comes like water here. Then it's will be coming like this. So this is 0 degrees Celsius. If I keep on cool it down, what will happen? If I keep it cooling, then it will be converted to ice. Here I would call it as condensation point. Condensation or condensation. Here I would call it as freezing point. So melting point and freezing point are the same. Only thing the path is different. Here boiling and condensation are same. So you know what is heating curve and what is cooling curve. Okay, let's see. Another concept that needs to be understood here is, I told you that the temperature does not increase here, the temperature does not increase here, but I'm still giving heat. So what happened to the heat which I'm giving? Temperature is not rising, but still, I can see that temperature is not rising, but still I have to keep on giving the heat in the stove. So what's happening here? Anybody? What is changing here? The state of matter, right? So from ice, from solid, it is becoming liquid. From liquid, it is becoming gas. So it means there is a change of state or change of phase. Okay, so take it down. Here, what's happening here is change of state. Another name for this is change of phase. Liquid phase, gaseous phase, solid phase. Since the energy which is given is used for phase change and not used to increase the temperature, right? You are not able to see the temperature increase, but you will be able to see the phase change. Since you don't see it in the temperature, we call it as hidden heat. So hidden heat or latent heat. Latent means something which is hidden, right? So hidden heat or latent. So since I said phase change, right? What's happening here is So if you take a solid ice cube, right? If you see it under microscope, you will be seeing that the crystal structure will be, or theoretically speaking, you can say that the crystal structure is something like, like this. So the molecules are kind of sitting very close to each other. But as I start melting this, what happens is the molecules are kind of, it's not bound by each other, neighboring molecules. They start, moving around freely. That is what happens in a liquid. And in the case of gas, what happens is it's not even sitting inside the container. It is, moving around here and there. So the water molecules are now flying around here and there. We'll study this more in the kinetic theory of gases. Okay, so this is gas. This is liquid. This is solid. So to pull the molecules apart, you have to give some energy, and that energy is what is energy which you are giving from the heat that is used to pull the molecules apart. So something like a rubber band. So here the molecules are sitting very close to each other. Only if I give some energy, only if I pull the rubber band, I'll be able to pull it apart. You're following what I'm saying? Are you able to imagine what I'm saying? Pull the molecules apart from each other. So if I pull a rubber band, right, what am I doing? Actually, I'm doing some work. That work is getting converted to potential energy. Why? Because the moment I leave the rubber band, it will come back to its original position. So here also we say that the potential energy of solids is negative. Same thing for liquid. But for potential energy for gases, we take the attraction between, why it is negative? Because there is some attraction between molecules. So whenever there is some attraction of molecules, we take it as positive, negative potential energy. Since this molecule and this molecule, there is absolutely no attraction, right? So very important, take it down properly. No attraction between the molecules. So since there is no attraction, potential energy of gas is considered to be zero. So in other words, when the molecules are coming closer, there will be some attraction between them. So it becomes, potential energy becomes negative. Slightly confusing concept. Okay, so take it down properly. It will need some more understanding of what is potential energy, why it is negative. So repulsion means we'll take it as positive. Attraction means we'll take it as negative. So kinetic energy is much easy for us to understand. Potential energy takes some time. Okay. Somewhere we studied potential energy does not have absolute numbers. It's more like a relative. Any questions? Anything not clear? So everyone following what is hidden heat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roshni, can you tell me why it is called hidden heat? Roshni, talking to you.
Sir, can you repeat the question once?
What do you mean by hidden heat? Not paying attention. Uzma, can you tell me what is hidden heat?
So the hidden heat means like the heat that the energy gets hidden from the contents or the temperature is constant.
Okay, so what's actually happening? Why does the temperature remain constant? Where does the heat go? It is utilized for
The object absorbs the heat, sir.
object absorbs the heat. Anything else? Any other answer? Anybody? It's right in front of your eyes. It's used for phase change, right? So from solid it is taken to liquid. From liquid it is taken to gas. So it means the energy to convert this phase, that is what is called hidden heat. Okay, so it's not utilized to increase the temperature. It is utilized to increase the change the phase.
Change phase.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's see. What else can I talk about here? Let me go to the handbook. If you have your handbook, go to page number 30. Okay, look at this. We talked about heat capacity, we talked about specific heat capacity, we talked about molar heat capacity, right? We talked about law of mixtures. Heat lost is equal to heat gain, right? Inside a calorimeter. This is called a calorimeter setup. Okay. 1 calorie. What is 1 calorie? 4.2 joules energy required to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, I think I made a mistake. It's not 1 kilogram, it is 1 gram. Okay, because for 1 kilogram it will be 4.2 kilojoules. Correct it if you have taken down the notes. So 1 gram of water to raise it by 1 degree Celsius, I will be giving 1 calorie. We talked about this, right? We talked about the heating curve. We talked about the potential energy of gas is zero. Okay. All these things are totally new concepts. Many times I have seen many students find the thermal properties difficult, but actually it's not very difficult. Okay. But you are learning a lot of new concepts. Okay. So you should take some effort to go through the textbook, go through the handbook, go through your class notes. Okay. Okay, coming back to this, there is one more formula which I forgot to give you here. So let's go back to this. So note it down properly. Here we studied important formula Q is equal to mc delta T. When the temperature is rising, right, I can calculate the delta T. But listen carefully, very important, everyone pay attention. If I use the same formula here, Q is equal to mc delta T, what will happen is the delta T will be 0. If I say delta T is 0, then Q is also 0, which means I'm not giving any heat energy at all, which is not true. In reality, I'm putting it on a stove and then I keep on giving heat here also. So in which case I should not be using this formula over here. So Q is equal to mc delta T cannot be used over here because delta T is equal to 0, but Q is not equal to 0 because I'm still giving heat from the stove to convert it to water to steam or ice to water. Everyone following this? Why I say I cannot use this formula here? Yes, no? No answers? Okay, so we have to use another formula. Okay, for 1 kg of ice, how much energy I have to give to convert it to water? Okay, that is what is called latent heat of melting. Similarly, here for 1 kg of water, how much energy I have to give to convert it to steam? That is what is called latent heat of vaporization. Okay, so we use another formula here called Q is equal to latent heat of vaporization is defined as Q divided by M. Similarly, latent heat of melting, how much energy you have to give to convert 1 kg of ice to water, which means to say that I can use another formula Q is equal to M into L. Here I will use Q is equal to M into Ln. M stands for melting, V stands for vaporization. Okay, so LV will be same as condensation. Lm will be same as freezing, because I told you condensation, vaporization are same, only thing it's in the reverse direction. Freezing and melting are the same, only thing it's in the reverse direction. Okay. Any doubts here? You folks understanding what is this? So here in this horizontal line, you'll be using the Q is equal to ml. The slanting curves, slanting lines, you'll be using Q is equal to mc delta t. So here also you'll be using,
1 minute, sir, I'll just take it down.
yeah. So here in all these slanting lines, we'll be using Q is equal to mc delta t. So take down this lot of information in one single page. We'll try to increase the size of this. So you see, we talked about boiling point, melting point, condensation point, freezing point. We talked about rising temperature and then temperature being constant. We talked about potential energy, right? So phase change, we talked about latent heat. We talked about a new formula Q is equal to mLV. You see here, you don't get the temperature. Okay, so when the line is horizontal, you cannot use the delta T formula. So again, as I always say, study the class notes first, go through the handbook, then go to the textbook. Okay, if you follow this order, definitely you will be finding it easy. If you directly go to the textbook, obviously it's going to be difficult. Okay, let me open the handbook. So we talked about heating curve, right? We talked about LV and LF. Look at this line and look at this line. This line is smaller and this line is bigger. Let me try to make it large. Check here. To carefully observe, right? Even in this drawing, right? I must have given this line smaller and this line bigger. Can anyone tell me what could be the reason for that?
You
Converting
can
ice
repeat the
to,
question again.
here the line is smaller, here the line is bigger, longer. Why? Give you a clue. Here you have to give more energy, less energy. Here you have to give more energy. Why? What is getting converted to what? What is getting converted to what?
Here it's getting converted to liquid and there it's getting converted to gas.
So which one is easier, converting ice to water or water to steam?
Water to steam.
It's easier. Think so?
No, sir. Water to steam is tougher, and then converting to melting is easier.
Yeah, so that's the answer. So take it down. So you can see that LM is smaller, LB is bigger. Okay, that's what is given in the handbook also. Take it down properly. LV is larger, LM is smaller. This is for melting. This is for vaporization. What is L, by the way? Latent heat of vaporization, specific latent heat. Okay. Anybody still copying this? Lot of information,
Yes,
one
sir, yes, sir,
single
one.
page. Take it down properly.
Done, sir.
Done. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So again, as I told you, this is called specific latent heat. Okay. Latent heat is just the concept. This LV is called as specific latent heat. So take it down. Specific latent heat. That means every substance will have its own specific latent heat. For example, ice will have a different value, water will have a different value, right? So this is called specific latent heat of vaporization. This is called specific latent heat of melting. I given some examples over here just to give you an idea. You know. So we talked about these things over here. So look at this. Specific heat capacity means for 1 kg of substance, if I need to increase it by 1 degree Celsius, how much energy I need to give. That is what is called specific heat. So sea ice, sea water, sea steam. Even though all these things are water, right? Ice has a different value, water has a different value, steam has a different value. I given it in different units, joule per gram, joule per kilogram. Celsius and Kelvin will be the same, right? Because it is just an addition and subtraction. We'll talk more about this. Latent heat of freezing, LF is LM and LF are same. Latent heat of vaporization, latent heat of, what is this? Yes, anybody? This is freezing or melting. This is vaporization or condensation. What is the another phase change? Anything which you know? Solid to water, water to gas. What is this? Solid to gas, right? Sublimation. So this is latent heat of sublimation. Okay, so let's see. So I have covered these things. Okay, these two are important things which we studied today. Of course, you should know what is specific capacity, what is heat capacity, what is molar capacity. It's a typical problem. Take this as a homework. So try this, discuss this, talk about this. These are all coming in your numerical. So in the next class, I'll get started with these topics. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Okay, so study the handbook and textbook and then come to your next class. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.